Alright, let's get this over with. I'm back. I told you guys last time that I'm not sure when the next video is gonna come out, but I guess it's out now. So, yeah, as of recording this video, my school is gonna start for me next Monday. So this is my last week until then, until my sophomore year. I already finished my freshman year. There's a couple of videos on what I thought of it. But anyways, this is a new video. In this one, I'm going to explain the story behind my nickname, why I am Heathcliff, or what Heathcliff is, why I chose it, and why I chose a name as a representation of my identity. You can see my face reflected in my glasses, I'm sorry. Contrary to popular belief, I am not named after the cat. The name Heathcliff is from the classic novel Wuthering Heights, written by Emily Bronte, sister of Charlotte Bronte, author of Jane Eyre, during the 19th century. You, the viewer, have probably not read Wuthering Heights, but it's I'd say it's an unmatched story, even by today's standard, of a classic of passionate love and revenge. And like even 200 years later, or not quite 200 years, there's still nothing like it. And there will be nothing like it, ever. So Heathcliff is the central character of Wuthering Heights, some would say. And some would argue that he's either the hero or the villain. But he's a very complex character. He does things that are good, things that are reasonable, as well as things that are bad and beyond salvaging. So he's not at all a great guy. Like, he has some very obvious flaws. He does some really cruel things. That's a central part of his character, is his cruelty. And like, it really isn't a compliment for me to identify with him. I'd say it's more of a punishment. Because Heathcliff is more like a gothic monster than a hero. He's in line with Dracula or Frankenstein's monster, rather than the paragon of goodness most heroes in fiction are. So, without further ado, I'm going to spend this video discussing the circumstances behind the book, Wuthering Heights, who Heathcliff is, and why his story applies to events and circumstances in my own life. Now, this isn't a summary or analysis of the book. If you want that, I'd suggest going somewhere else. This video is about me, not about Wuthering Heights itself. So there's plenty of resources if you want to write your essay. Or, of course, you could actually read the book. It is pretty long, and it is really old, scratchy English, but I promise it's a good book. So, in the book, Wuthering Heights, the titular Wuthering Heights, is a manor owned by a wealthy family known as the Earnshaws. The Earnshaws have 2 kids, a boy named Hindley and a girl named Catherine, or Kathy. One day, the father Earnshaw, Mr. Earnshaw, returns from a trip to Liverpool with the boy he found abandoned on the streets. This boy has dark skin and is probably Middle Eastern or Romani descent, a big contrast to the white European English Earnshaws. So Mr. Earnshaw brought this boy to Wuthering Heights to raise as his own son, and names him Heathcliff, after a son of his that passed away. So Heathcliff immediately becomes the favorite child, much to the ire of Hindley. But Hindley starts picking on Heathcliff when his father isn't around, but Heathcliff doesn't care because, 1, his father, Mr. Earnshaw, will protect him, and 2, he's getting along great with the with the sister, Kathy. Unfortunately, this changes once Mr. Earnshaw passes away and and Hindley becomes master of the house. Now that Hindley owns Wuthering Heights, he can treat Heathcliff however he wants because his dad isn't there to stop him. So Heathcliff becomes a servant. He's demoted to servant, and he can no longer spend time with Kathy and the rest of the family. Also, now that Mr. Earnshaw isn't here, Heathcliff is forced to defend himself against Hindley. He learns to act aggressively as a form of self-preservation. Also, Kathy begins spending time at Thrushcross Grange, the neighboring estate, home to the Linton family. Lintons let Kathy stay over but shun Heathcliff because they think of him as a pest rather than as Kathy's brother. So it becomes very clear to Heathcliff during this time that the world will endlessly reject him. And his hatred for the rest of the world begins to get even worse as he overhears Catherine tell Nellie, the housekeeper, that she wishes to marry the son of the Linton family, Edgar. Kathy doesn't love Edgar, but Edgar and the Lintons have money and security, which Kathy is seeking. If Catherine, according to her, were to marry Heathcliff, their unstable standing as members of the gentry rather than nobility may render them penniless and on the streets. Or if she were to marry Edgar, she would continue being able to live the lavish lifestyle that she so desires, that she grew up within. So Heathcliff feels betrayed that Kathy could love a man other than him. But he understands that she only loves Edgar and not him because he doesn't have a fortune of his own. Therefore, he runs away from Wuthering Heights and only returns 3 years later, once he has beaten Edgar at his own game and amassed riches that we, the reader, don't really quite understand where he got them from. And it's never explained. So that's the end of the first arc. There are plenty more parts of the story and several time skips in which Heathcliff enacts his revenge on the Earnshaw and Linton families, as well as their descendants, and then he becomes Earl King Heathcliff and travels through the multiverse, killing every parallel version of himself. But once again, this video is about the book, is not about the book, it's about me, so I'd like to stop here in my summary. So, how do I relate to this story? Why do I relate to Heathcliff? Well, some people have good high school experiences, but others do not, including me. COVID was one thing. My betrayal at the hands of the person I loved, and the hatred for all mankind that grew because of it, was another. So one of the worst mistakes I made as a teenager was chasing after girls. Or rather, every teenager chases girls, I guess. I'm not going to say every normal teenager. Some teenagers that are like me, chased after girls. But my problem was letting girls define my identity, or letting them tell me what to do, treat me the way they wished to. So as a teenager, I just followed the girls I liked everywhere, and let them make decisions for me. And not making decisions for myself and just letting others dictate what I did was pretty damn bad. Like, I'm a very strange person. I find it difficult to relate to others and find similarities between myself and other people. But there was one exception. Let's call this girl Kathy. Kathy and I'd say, were exactly the same, or I could very well relate to her issues, her personality, her likes and dislikes, what was going on in her life. And I'd say that we still have those similar issues. And I loved her deeply because there was no one in the world like me except for her. and there was no one in the world except for her. There was no one in the world like her except for me. So I thought, this girl is an extension of my soul, basically. Someone I had to keep close, otherwise I'd lose a vital part of myself. She was my anima, my Beatrice, who had the capacity to lift my soul out of hell and into heaven. Her desire for love was just as great as mine. She needed someone to lift her out of hell as well, and I thought I was going to be that person. I was obligated to do such a thing. I had to save her. Her despair was my own despair. I was prepared to do anything to rectify that. I wanted to make her happy. I felt she deserved it, so I ignored my own desires to conform to hers. I changed myself to become exactly what she wanted, but she shunned me for it. I was rejected. My desire, my obsession was one-sided. She was everything to me. She was me, myself. And I wanted to hold tight to her as if she was really an extension of my soul. But she graduated early and left me behind. And once I was left behind, I realized all the mistakes I had made in following her and doing what she wanted instead of what I wanted. I had surrounded myself with people who called themselves my friends, but in reality, I hated. I had to defend myself from them. They picked on me, and I was forced to find ways to survive. Just like Heathcliff, I had to defend for myself now that there was no one around to protect me, or no one to give me a reason to stay. And so I learned to act aggressively. I learned to fight before I knew love or bitterness of coffee. So I decided eventually that I was going to take revenge, not just against Kathy, who betrayed me, who didn't return my feelings, but against the school, against the world, which treated an angel like vermin. It took Heathcliff in the book 3 years to become insurmountably rich, but I had 5, counting both senior year and my 4 years of college, before I wanted to see Kathy again. I wanted to show her how much I had changed, how much I was able to turn my life around now that she wasn't there. I have a confession to make. This is going to sound really awful. You're going to hate me for this. But in the summer of 2022, before the start of my senior year, I became really into those alpha male manosphere YouTube videos. In my defense, they really struck when the iron was hot. Here I was, hit with the worst rejection of my life, filled with anger in the world. Technoblade had just died, my favorite YouTuber, my only role model I've had. And so I was ready for a false savior to tell me what to do. Once again, to make me a willing follower, to give me a clear reason to live, and a reason as to why my love was not returned. At first, things were going well. I started working out, I got serious with my schoolwork and college applications, and I found a new friend group of only boys to play soccer with. And for a while, I really felt like I was part of a team. But even though things were beginning to look up for me on the outside, on the inside, I was still consumed by that burning desire for Kathy. When I talked to girls at that time, when I tried talking to girls, I wasn't interested in them. I just wanted a replacement. Or I saw traits of Kathy in them. And so I didn't really treat them like people, or I gave up on them once I realized that it wouldn't be easy. And I thought that if I got together with a real girl for the first time, I'd be able to forget about her. Or maybe I'd be able to text her saying, like, I got a girlfriend. And then in her jealousy, she'd realize what a mistake she'd made in pushing me away. And then she'd beg me to get together with her. And then my jealousy and my aggression towards other people got worse as well. His videos told me that people were only interested in shallow things like appearances and wealth. They wouldn't be attracted to me from what's inside. They wouldn't be attracted to my artist self, the one who likes books and likes listening to music and likes drawing and video games. They'd only be interested in the part of me that makes money, that can gather assets, that can provide. In fact, the reason why I was treated so cruelly by the world, by my classmates, by my friends, was because I was ugly. That was my reasoning. In fact, at that time, I still thought of myself as ugly. I rationalized that I needed to work out in order to become handsome. Then everyone would change their mind about me and start treating me differently. Or maybe once I became rich and successful, everyone would come around and try to be my friend. But it was very difficult for me to do those things in such a short amount of time. I couldn't change those things overnight. It's kind of like imagine you grew up religious, or you grew up with a religious family, but you realized as you grew older that you were gay. But instead of accepting you, your family decided to send you to a conversion therapy camp where they taught you that if you pray hard enough to God, you would be spared of this curse placed upon you. But no matter how much you prayed, you would never be free. You would never be, quote unquote, cured of being gay. It would still haunt you. But if you were to complain about it, they would say that you wasn't placing enough faith in Jesus, in God, and you'd have to pray harder. But once again, no matter how hard you prayed, nothing would change. But according to the institution, it's your fault, not theirs. And to me, there began the cycle of self-hatred. I could never be enough under this belief, under this ideology. And as I kept swallowing worthless content made by grifters that exploited teenage boys that just had trouble getting dates, which is the majority of people, I'm sure even people who did date during that time, who were in relationships, got rejected more than once. And they just blamed it all on superficial reasons. And as that happened, self-hatred became self-destruction. Because how I am now, how I was at the time, according to me, could never be enough for Kathy. Anything that I could do could not bring Kathy back. What I had to do was destroy myself completely and become a completely new, free, fine young man. And there began a storm of self-destructive behaviors, risk-taking, rebellion, and delinquency. My desire for revenge against the people around me was so high that I started to shake. I felt genuine despair and anguish whenever I saw my oppressors succeed. And I began lashing out physically too, training myself on how to fight so I could teach those people a lesson, having daydreams on how I would bring them to their knees and make them repent for what they had done. Sometimes I still have violent thoughts, or thoughts of solving my issues with physical force. And I thought that was the correct way. And I wanted to burn the school down, maybe. Burn the world down. I wanted the world to end for me to destroy it. Only by swift and destructive action could I feel like a living human being. Without destruction, I was a corpse. I was not human. I could not live with myself. I could not live at all. But eventually I realized what exactly those internet alpha males were doing to me. How big the lies had gotten. The biggest lie that I was ever told by patriarchy, by men, by the concept of masculinity itself, was that all the problems they created and forced me to pay for were actually created by women. I had done all these bad things to destroy my self-image, to destroy the concept of myself, and then pin the blame on one of the most oppressed groups in society. For example, there was a belief that all women liked buff, muscular men, people that were masculine, and they shunned fat or soft or stupid men. But that was a lie. Do you really think it's a group of women in the Hollywood writing room who are casting the buff masculine man as the main hero and the fat silly man as a comic relief sidekick? Get real. Quit fucking with me. Can you really believe how easily I was oppressed and how they kept people? How the men who ruled the world kept people, both women and young men like me, down, and how willingly I was participating in all this nonsense. So I became a servant, a piece of the machine, designed to get young men like me to mutilate their humanity in order to not get what they want, but what the dogs of capitalism wanted. I was being groomed into that cold Machiavellian businessman that I so hated as an adolescent. The one that doesn't care about others, the one that pushes people around, the one that acts in disregard for others, who only cares about hogging money for myself. I was becoming like that. I'm sure that would be the final product of this regime. I shouldn't have taken advice from them. I shouldn't have listened to what grown men thought made guys attractive. Instead, I should have grown up normally. I shouldn't have gotten swept up in that culture that the whole world was participating in, designed to bring the individual to ruin, but raise company profits higher and higher. And so I gave myself the name Heathcliff as a reminder that everything good about me had been lost. My inner child, my innocence, my happiness, my grace, and my love for others was destroyed by the outer world, and I had been permanently damaged by it. There may have been no salvaging me. But now that I'm aware of how damaging society's machinations can be, I want to be on the right side, or I want to be on my own side instead of following what others wanted. I don't want to be swept up in that anymore. And I don't want to be a fence sitter either. I want to actively oppose things I think are wrong. And I want to keep myself and others away from propaganda that may spread. And now that I'm aware of how much I've been lied to, I realize how far those things have gone, how far deep into my blood those negative ideas and ideology really spread. A major part of Wuthering Heights that most movie adaptations skip over is how Heathcliff continues his revenge on Hindley, Edgar, and Kathy's descendants. Heathcliff treats Hareton, Hindley's son, the same way Hindley treated him, as a servant. He doesn't treat him as the son of the master of the house. He treats him as a stable boy, as a janitor. Heathcliff wanted to prove that any tree blown by the same ugly wind, will bend in the same way. That anyone could be as twisted as him if they were under the same circumstances and treated the exact same as he was. However, Hareton doesn't bend as easily. And Heathcliff, seeing the same love he had with Catherine, shared in Hareton and Cathy's daughter, realizes his mistakes, throws away his revenge, and loses all attachment to life. The same hatred that put Heathcliff under did not change Hareton. He had broken the cycle of abuse. There's a lot in my own life that I don't want to talk about, that I'm not ready to discuss, that I can't even discuss with myself. I've possibly been struggling under trauma since the day I was born. I might go my whole life without receiving proper treatment, because it all started long ago, even before I was born. You see, Heathcliff doesn't have a full name. His full name is Heathcliff, because he's not part of the Earnshaws, and he doesn't have a title of his own. He has absolutely nothing to his name, and his name is proof. The men in my family are the exact same. I don't have like a rich uncle or anything like that. I'm the son of an illegal immigrant. He left his country with nothing and entered this one also with nothing. But he hopes to see that will be changed. I'm not sure if that'll really happen though. Anything could happen. But in order to make those dreams come true, I would have to change myself, which I'm not sure if anything can change, not anymore. So my family is cursed with the name of Heathcliff, and I'm the new bearer of that curse. Unless I change something, everything will stay the same. Nothing will change on its own, and I will continue bearing the curse and pass it on to my descendants. And so the flame of hatred that once burned for myself and for others has become a flame to keep myself alive. I don't care about revenge. I don't care about Cathy. In fact, maybe it would be better if Cathy never existed, or all my friends, or all the enemies I had made, all the people I hated back in school. It would be better if I had never met them at all, if they didn't exist, if they didn't join my life. All I care about is leading the next generation to lives of happiness. The strength granted to me as a man, the strength I almost used for evil, will not be used punched down. It'll be used to lift others up. I want to help people feel safe and secure around me, not threatened. I have to be on the right side now. Things have changed at least a little bit, but I'm not sure if that will really make a difference in the grand scheme of things. So I will fight to fix it, at least in my own life, and in the lives of my loved ones. So I want to thank everyone for watching this far. This video is shorter than I thought it would be. It's only 28 minutes right now. This is a video I've wanted to make for a long time, and I hope that it helps you understand a little more about me. I have one more video planned, but I'm not sure when it will come out. School is starting again in less than a week, and that'll mean that my schedule will be packed and I won't have time for these videos. Just know that even if I've reached a new step of clarity, I still have a long way to go. Exterior forces still have their grips on me. And the next video will be ways I have sought happiness despite those things. Ways that I hope you will be able to learn from as well. And once again, I want to thank you for watching this far. We're reaching 30-minute mark now. I don't know how to end videos, so I hope you guys have a good day. I hope you have an enjoyable day. And I will see you next time. Thank you once again.